Hello and welcome to Mangasplaining, the show where we recommend great manga to folks who haven't read much manga before. Hosted by me, Deba Aoki, David Brothers, Christopher Woodrow Butcher, and Chip Zdarsky. Follow along with our show notes and reading list at mangasplaining.com. And as should be obvious, this week is my week. And this week, well, I picked a book that I genuinely liked when the series first debuted, but also I picked it because I thought it'd be a timely pick. The anime is coming out within a month or two. By the time this airs, maybe it'll already have been finished. But that's
I'll try and get it up. I'll try and get this episode up quick. I promise.
We'll have it up before season 2. It's all good.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
There you go.
This is Kaiju number 8. Kaiju number 8 is by Naoya Matsumoto, published by Shonen Jump Viz Media. And let's see. Well, how do I describe it? Well, it's basically a monster story, a fighting adventure story, a little bit of science fiction, but it's ultimately kind of a workplace drama. But let's figure this out. Let's untangle this little mess, right? Let's read, as per our usual, let's read the description from Viz Media. Kafka hopes to one day keep his pact with his childhood friend Mina to join the Japan Defense Force and fight by her side. But while she's out neutralizing kaiju as a 3rd Division captain, Kafka is stuck cleaning up the aftermath of her battles. When a sudden rule change makes Kafka eligible for the Defense Force, he decides to try out for the squad once more. There's just one problem. He's made the Defense Force's neutralization list under the code name Kaiju number 8. Right. So that's an interesting description of the story because it very neatly skirts some of the little things that pop up in the story. Like, why is he called Kaiju number 8? And why are kaiju a problem in Japan? And not in the Godzilla sense, right? Not like Godzilla is going to be your pal, right? Or the little twin girls are going to start singing to bring Mothra down. That's like
you never
different
know.
take on kaiju. Yeah, well, this could happen.
Could happen.
But who do I start with this time? Oh, David, let's try you. I know you hate this.
I actually just saw Godzilla Kong: The New Empire last weekend, so this was really timely in terms of timing. And now everyone's going to know when we recorded this episode. So even though I know everyone who worked on this book, editor Carla, designer Jimmy, translator David, and letterer Brandon, it's like really good, is my honest opinion. But in a weird way that is going to sound like damning with faint praise. Because I think it's really competent, and the competency is what makes it good. But competent isn't like an exciting adjective. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But what I feel is that it kind of picks up on a lot of shonen tropes and little ideas and executes them really quickly and effortlessly to get to like the more exciting like characterization bits, for instance. Like I thought of World Trigger while reading this because it kind of goes right into the like qualifying tournament arc of the story in chapter 2, almost.
Yeah.
Or the way he just suddenly has powers, and it's like, by the way, he figured out how to use them. We're going to skip all of that part. Like he gets them mysteriously in a way that you can easily follow up on, say, in volume 8 or 9 down the line, but might like kill the momentum of the book early on. Like there's all these little bits where I'm like, oh, this is like a Shonen Jump thing they're doing, but they're doing it differently. And that's kind of cool. So like competent with 3 exclamation points. I don't know. But I totally see why it's popular, like why people got into it, why it's being turned into an anime, because it does have cute characters. It's not super deep. Like the workplace stuff kind of works for me, but I think I'm a little bit too old for the drama to really settle necessarily. Like I get it, but it doesn't. It's like a cartoon of a workplace.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, this feels like a kid's version of a workplace.
Yeah, which makes perfect sense because it's for Shonen Jump. Like they're doing exactly what it says on the box. So it's more of a me thing than a manga thing. But the monster action's good. Like the designs are cool. The gross parts are gross. Yeah, I'm for it. I'm into Kaiju number 8.
Very good. Let's segue over to Chip then. What did you think about this one?
I really like the competent 3 exclamation marks description. Sums up my feeling, because I definitely read it thinking like, yeah, this is fun. It's not for me, but it's fun and it's well done. The funny part is I was really stoked. I think it was described as damage control
Oh yeah.
when it was pitched, and so I was kind of really into that idea, and then they kind of pushed that to the side relatively quickly. For anyone that doesn't know, Damage Control was a Marvel comic about the company that cleans up after the big superhero supervillain battles. And that's how this starts. Our guys on the kaiju cleanup crew after the kaiju's defeated. And I'm like, oh, that's a fun workplace comedy stuff. Like, you're always the loser, kind of cleaning up after the heroes,
Mhm.
and then they get rid of that pretty quickly. which I'm like, I mourn the loss of the low key workplace comedy that I thought it was going to be, and then it became more shonen-y,
Mhm.
for lack of a better term, with some tropes here and there that I'm already kind of seeing played out time and time again. The big twist being the fact that the guy's ancient in his 30s, which is it's just pretty funny. I did very much relate to him just coming in almost dead last in all the physical activities, even though it feels like he's in good shape. Yeah, it also suffers from one of my kind of least favorite things, which I'm sure someone could explain away. But the fact that he can turn into a kaiju, but then can turn back into a human and have a proper conversation with somebody. So he could actually go to these people and tell them, "Hey, so here's the deal. Something flew into my mouth, and I've got the powers of a kaiju, but I want to help you guys fight kaiju because I think I have the ability to do so." Literally the easiest thing in the world. It seems so obvious, and yet, oh no, we gotta hide it or they'll kill me. I'm like, I don't think so, buddy. So there's that kind of the situation that feels very resolved with a simple conversation. But it's fun. The jokes generally land. Yeah, and on Christopher's recommendation, read beyond Volume 1 into Volume 2, and the fight scene was fun with a couple of kind of cool tricks there that I haven't really seen. But yeah, it's competent. Three exclamation marks. Yeah. I mean, I'm kind of looking forward to like more characters being kind of fleshed out as well. Like the main guy, Kafka. You're kind of getting into who he is. Mina, there's nothing there yet, and the 18-year-old Reno, it's just kind of all over the map, that character. So I'm just like,
Yeah.
oh, okay, it'd be nice for them to settle on what the personality is for that guy, because sometimes he's like kind of explosive, and sometimes he's like very cool and calm and blasé and comedy relief and not comedy relief. Like he seems like a character they just don't know what to do with yet. On the art side, the art is competent. 3 exclamation marks. There are a bunch of things in there that I've just kind of I that kind of rubbed me the wrong way, because you can tell that they know how to draw, but they're not very good at drawing. That makes sense. Yeah.
Is there a particular example?
I mean, most pages you can kind of see it. Like any kind of secondary character is just kind of like very kind of flat. Like there's not a lot of understanding of kind of dimension. There's one like mistake in Volume 2 on a page where like a solid object kind of goes through somebody's head, and I'm just like, oh yeah, they're just going fast. Like there's no time here or there. The hatching is bad. It's like somebody told them to hatch, and they're not very good at it. It doesn't actually help define anything. So there are a lot of weird technical things that like are good, technical things that are bad. You can tell they love to like get the story out, but I was kind of hoping the art would get better by Volume 2, and I'm like, oh no, this person is where they're at, and I don't see them really developing beyond this. Yeah, because they're just getting the story out, and there's a lot of kind of not shortcuts, but you can tell when they really have to work on something and when they don't. The monster designs were fine, but like really kind of inconsistent, and again they kind of lack volume and weight to them. But yeah, these are just kind of my weird little things. But like the action stuff was pretty competent. 3 exclamation marks. So I enjoyed most of that. Yeah.
Interesting. Christopher, what was your take on it?
I think I liked it better than you guys did. I enjoyed myself a lot while I was reading it. But thinking about it, I think I take Chip's criticisms and I agree with them. But I think I'm starting from a higher place maybe than he was, because it's like, so if you read this on the app, on the Shonen Jump app, rather than buying the volumes, there's like there's a bonus chapter because it looks like he's doing 3 chapters, then taking a week off, and in those weeks off, they're just doing like a special little release where it's a couple of title pages from the series in color. Really lovely, I think. Kind of want to Chip's color corner it later. We'll see how he feels about it. But those title pages are so much nicer than almost any of the interiors that I think that it's like, oh yeah, no, I think that this guy actually can really draw. And I think that he doesn't, I think that the weekly format is not maybe serving his art the best, having to crank those pages out 20 a week. And you can already see it because he's not doing weekly every week. He's taking a week, a month off. So I think that there's something there, but I think he's starting from a higher place maybe than Chip does. And, that's fine. The fight was really fun. And it's interesting. I have a big comparison, but it's interesting that David went to World Trigger, because for me, it felt a lot like My Hero, except My Hero Academia, Boku no Hero Academia, especially in the pacing of it, because that's sort of like we're immediately in the school training arc to see who gets into the class or whatever thing. Yeah. And ending the first volume on a cliffhanger absolutely happened in My Hero as well. And then that first arc, that first fight or test or whatever kind of resolves itself. Naruto had that as well when we read that, where like he gets into ninja school finally, and then he's got to do like the first big sort of training arc kind of a thing. And I think it's a Shonen Jump. It feels very Shonen Jump. It feels very, 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 very Shonen
It's a staple.
Yeah. And I think that as a creator, he might have other interesting stuff going on. But I think Shonen Jump is also like a battlefield these days. Like when we're recording, like just this week, there was 2 series that were like reader favorites that were canceled in Shonen Jump in Japan. People were like livid and sad online. It's like, oh, this is my favorite book serial right now. It's weird and interesting, and they canceled it. And it's just like, yeah, man, it's brutal. Like you can't keep stuff going forever if it's not got that mass appeal, not in that magazine. And I think that he found what the mass appeal is, and it's in Kaiju number 8. But I also don't know that it is exciting enough on its own. You know what I mean? To like push beyond into that if it's going to be one of those big 3 kind of situations. I think that's probably how I feel about it. I do think, though, Chip saying like he's not going to get much better, I think that's fake as hell. Because if you look at Bleach Volume 1 and it did a direct comparison, and we read Bleach 77, like he's a whole other artist by 70 volumes in. And I kind of wish that I had read a little bit further to see what Kaiju number 8, like volume 13 or 14 or whatever's out right now, kind of looks like to see, because I bet there's some real artistic growth there. Every single shonen book we've read has changed so much.
Yeah, I mean, and also look, as a book kind of gets popular, like you get better assistants as well. Like it's not just the main person getting better.
You can afford so many people.
Yeah.
I would like to see his work from 2009 when he first broke into Shonen Jump. That was a very different time for the magazine as well, in addition to being 13 years ago. If you've done mostly, say, weekly work for 13 years, there's got to be some kind of interesting, hopefully some kind of interesting evolution going on in there.
Yeah.
Because I think, like when I say this is competent, like what you were saying about it hitting certain Shonen Jump staples is exactly that. Like they figure out the bits that people like. Like we need the training arc. We need kind of like the destroyed urban landscape with no consequences, so there's no like collateral damage or people getting hurt.
We've managed to evacuate the city.
Yeah,
good, just in time.
Or even better in Naruto when they're like, we have these wood ninjas who build cities for us to train in that we can destroy at will. It's like, okay, guys, like this is great. But this has a lot of that, and it also has, with the monster design, I kept thinking of something like Dai Dark or Dorohedoro, where it's weird, but the weirdness is just sort of like there. It's not explained, or like there's not like these are evil aliens from the such and such dimension. It's just like, no, they're kaiju. They're weird and they look like this. Even the bodysuits, I think, was what made me think of World Trigger, because it feels paramilitary,
Yeah.
But My Hero, same deal. They even do the generic urban landscape arc, and it's one of the best scenes in the book early on.
Final comment on my first thoughts was reading this, I was like, whose work does this remind me of, and Chip saying when the characters are in the background, the secondary characters are in the background, they become kind of flat. I'm like, oh, it actually really reminds me of Humberto Ramos, because his stuff is so squishy and stretchy and whatever. But when it's two characters in the background, he's like, they're just like, they flatten right out. But the characters in the foreground are so bouncy and energetic and stretchy. I think is really interesting. And there's a lot of that going on in this book.
Here, even when the main characters aren't in necessarily a standard pose, that's when it kind of falls down as well. It's not just kind of background characters.
Yeah, and I say that I really liking Ramos's work, but same.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that's my thoughts on it.
I would love to see his take on this. That is,
that'd
such
be amazing.
a mind-destroying thought.
Yeah, it'd be exciting.
Yeah.
Deb, what did you think? You picked this and you liked it. Did all three of us wet blanket you on this one, or how you feeling?
We all liked it.
I still like it. I mean,
competent.
3 exclamation marks.
I would say that it's not my number one go-to read in Shonen Jump. And there are times when I let several chapters go by before I go back in and catch up. So for me, for a Shonen Jump thing, it's like, it's, there's that, as soon as a new chapter comes up, I got to read it. There's that level.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's the, wow, this is great. This gave me a great first impression and I'll check in on it once in a while. That's this one. And then there's the, I've read it and it just didn't move me in any big way.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's, I never bothered to read it. So it's a solid number 2 right there, right?
Yeah, I got you.
All right.
On my Shonen Jump scale. I've mentioned a couple times that I enjoy these manga that don't just focus on teenagers, right?
Yeah.
Like this, and I've often mentioned Giant Killing, that soccer manga about the pro soccer players, and some of them are in their late 20s, early 30s, and they're starting to feel like, is this the end of my career? Is this the highest I can go? And so the part about where Kafka is kind of talking about, I'm only in my 30s, I'm not an old man, shut up.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to ask yourself, why make your hero that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Why it's that different, because most Shonen Jump heroes are either teens or 20s. And it basically, I think he did it to add this element of, yes, deadline or desperation, right? This is my last chance to make it. This is my last chance to make an impact. But also that, I think in your 30s, there's that moment where you're comparing yourself with your peers.
Mm-hmm.
And they're, at that point, your peers who are successful have had a chance to become pretty darn successful. And that's when you really start to feel like, is this as far as I can go? Or can I catch up if I speed up a little bit?
Yeah, and also the questions of what is success? Like, yeah, someone can seem successful, but they're not actually happy or doing a thing that, brings them joy. Yeah.
So I thought those were interesting topics to bring up. And I thought the monster designs were fun. One thing I really enjoyed about this was the way that he manages, and I'm assuming it's a he, manages the page turns, right? Like those moments where like the page turn and then some reveal happens.
Oh, like the bug early on. Yeah.
Yeah. Or like a big, punch, or the part, I think I was highlighting the one on chapter 8, pages 13 to 15 in that chapter, where it's like
that was cool.
The punch, and then it shows the bones breaking, and then the monster vaporizing. Like, that's pretty nice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was cool.
Whenever a new reveal would happen, it would be very nicely managed. Like something, and then boom, something comes up, and it's got impact.
Yeah.
So I thought that was cool. I did like the idea of the fact that he was, basically doing, I think it was a Discovery Channel show called Dirty Jobs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where this guy says, okay, here's the people out there doing jobs that nobody wants to do, but they are bravely doing it, right? Like, that's a form of bravery too, right? To do a job that is society needs, is difficult, high risk. Nobody gives you props for it, right?
Yeah.
Like doing toxic waste cleanup.
I think they walked that line really delicately in the book too. They didn't make fun of him or like talk down to him for the job that he was doing. They just said, this isn't what you wanted to do. You were aiming for something very different and you didn't make it. And maybe you need to like aim for that goal that you went for. Because I think that's interesting.
more than not making it, he gave up, is what they keep thinking him for.
They get
Yeah.
which is the opposite of Shonen Jump.
But yeah, you can't give up. It's garbage. You know?
Also, he's really good at his initial job. Like he gets put on intestine duty twice because of that fact.
And I think Chip's right, where the damage control stuff is so good in this that I wish there was more. And I assume that there'll be more as the series. I don't think he'll immediately become like the ultimate superhero. So I'm sure there'll be more, but it's charming.
It's funny if they stuck with the damage control stuff with him on Kaiju Cleanup, like that would actually be extremely reminiscent of like a Marvel superhero comic, because he'd be the loser doing this thing over here while there's heroes off to the side, and he has to secretly be the hero of the day and then go back to his shitty job, which is it's just like such a classic Marvel comic.
Taking photos for J. Jonah Jameson.
Yeah, exactly. Getting yelled at and stuff, but then you got to like go save the day and not get any of the credit. Yeah.
I guess the things I liked about it was the humor, right? Oh, so go ahead.
No, Deb, I should actually just ask you, because you've been reading it. Does it get back to more of the monster cleanup stuff later on in the series?
No, not in particular. Like, it does show that there's a mess after every battle, but it does feel like he moves firmly into the Defense Force side.
Oh, okay. I guess if he's vaporizing monsters, there's not a lot to clean up.
Yeah, that's true.
That's true, yeah.
I think they used that basically as a premise of showing him coming from humble backgrounds.
Okay.
Right? And so that he doesn't come in like like a hot shot, right? Like like a guy who's like, I'm going to change the world, and like Hanamichi in Slam Dunk, right? Hanamichi in Slam Dunk is both the hero and the comic relief.
Yeah,
which is kind of what you're seeing here with Kaiju No. 8, where Kafka is the guy who's making all the goofy faces, like, please don't tell anybody that I'm a kaiju,
Yeah. Oh, this kind of ties into the idea of like friendship, effort, and victory being the pillars of Shonen Jump. Like, he has the effort. Like, we know he can do the work. He just needs like the stick-to-itiveness to get the victory.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't know. I kept thinking this is kind of a super hot take, but do you remember Space Brothers that we read? Like,
yeah,
I was just gonna say this reminded me a lot of Space Brothers.
Yeah, okay, so it's not that hot at all, because you have the guy who's kind of like a little bit past his prime, but still like just on the cusp of getting in. There's the younger character that like he has some kind of relationship with, who's like excelling at the job.
Yeah,
the weird cast around him, and him kind of working his way up through odd jobs to get to the top.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah, so I think what makes Space Brothers satisfying also is what makes this so satisfying, is that like they're kind of playing with similar ideas, but this is more of like a younger aspirational kind of thing.
Yeah, Space Brothers felt like it was geared towards people our age.
Yeah.
About people our age. And this is about people, well, not people our age, because 30s, but that feeling of being too old for life. Yeah, but aimed at young people.
The other thing that I enjoyed about this was and I have mixed feelings about it, and you guys can kind of fill me out on this one a little bit. But the fact that the person that he's aspiring to beat at her level is a woman.
Yeah, that's cool.
That's new for Shonen Jump.
And that his colleague, who is the most kick-ass rookie on the force, who is the same level as him, is a girl too. And they're both different girls. Like, one is a legacy, right? Like, comes from her family are like, she's kind of like a military brat, right? Like her dad and her mom, has all this, like, I got into the Marines because my mom and dad were in the Marines kind of thing. And then Kikoru's kind of like, almost kind of like Wonder Woman in a sense, right? Kind of this stoic goddess character who doesn't seem to have a heck of a lot of personality.
She's like Frank Miller's Wonder Woman specifically, I feel, where like she comes down out of the sky with a lightning bolt kind of character. And disappears in like a puff of smoke or something like that. And the Pigtails rival, she is such like an Asuka Langley character from Evangelion.
Yes. Down to the ponytails.
Yeah. And there's like an illustration of her with like a cross standing in front of it and like a gun across her chest. I really got like big Asuka vibes. That kind of like rich girl who's so rich that she's kind of unloved. And so she's excelling to get, attention from her parents, and this is all she knows. Like textbook characters. Like this is hitting many notes.
In what you read, did you actually get to see her backstory? Because they kind of just give it all away in volume 2.
No, I just read volume 1. I actually forgot to read chapter 8. But they have the flashback to her childhood when she's like getting into middle school and her dad's not there. But then her butler, who is there, says, "Your dad will be here later and he will be pleased." After watching like the montage of the families. Yeah. Am I more or less on target with like where she's headed?
Yeah. And it's fascinating that it's like that, but also we read Food Wars, right? We read that first chapter of Food Wars, and there was that exceptionally spoiled, stuck-up rich girl who's also super good at cooking, right?
Yeah.
So it really, that was the character that I thought she was filling out the archetype.
Mm-hmm.
But no, she's actually got a tragic backstory. Her, like, not just she didn't really have a silver spoon sort of a situation, even with the butler and everything. You find out that like actually there's zero love, and it's like a military household, and it's like it's really hard. And it's like by the end of what I read, which I think about halfway through volume 2, I was like, all right, I don't hate her anymore, even though they kind of want us to. Like you got to create a character. You got to create and it feels mean to say this, but it seems like Shonen Jump needs to create a girl character for the boys who think girls are yucky to hate. So making like the rival like a girl that it's like, oh, it's okay to hate her because she's so bad, and it's like, yeah, all right, like at least there's positive other girls too. But so much of the Shonen Jump that we've read, like think about Chainsaw Man started as Shonen, right, in Jump, and then they moved it online. But think about Power and how she's supposed to be this like she betrays Chainsaw Man, Denji, in the first volume, where it's like, actually, I was just tricking you. I need to get my like whatever back from this other demon. And it's like, oh, I hate her. But as the series goes on, she gets a lot of character development. And that's another Shonen Jump trope to me, is that first volume has to have, well, now, and it's definitely changed over the years, because before there'd be no girls at all. Yeah, it's definitely like, we've got to have a girl character that the boys who think girls are yucky can really like fixate on their hate on. And then they'll grow to like her or respect her down the road. And I think that's like progress, but it's still just like,
what's
all right,
the
here we go.
Superhero version of that? Is there like a Marvel Comics version of that character, Kikoru?
That is really interesting. Amanda Waller.
Oh,
is the first character from Suicide Squad. This like
good guy, bad,
super
methods.
Competent, bad, like means justify the ends, is super powerful, has no powers but controls everything, kind of a thing. And everyone on the page is just like, Amanda Waller, like Amanda Waller.
She's not as evil as Henry Gyrick from the Avengers, who's just more openly antagonistic.
Yeah, he wasn't powerful though. I mean, he had some power, but he clearly wasn't, running things.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a couple of characters. Yeah, Gyrick is a good one. A couple of characters in fiction that are brought in to be the like good guy by the book. Star Trek there was a long running arc in Star Trek Next Generation. This is so off topic, but it was revealed basically that there were these parasite aliens that were taking control of people, and this one guy that kept giving like there was a couple. It was supposed to be a much bigger arc, and they cut it off early because they didn't like it. But it's the one that ends with that like phaser blast to the head of the guy who's infected with the parasites, and his head explodes. It's a GIF. It's a meme now.
Yeah.
But that arc is another one where it's like someone who comes in and does things by the book and hates the entire Enterprise crew because they're so friggin' quirky. And you're just like, oh, this guy, I hate him. Anyway, that kind of character. But in Jump, it always seems like it's a female character. And everything I've read of this like new generation of Jump stuff. And unless it's a female lead, something like Akane Banashi?
Akane Banashi.
Banashi, yeah. What else did I read lately? Or Dan actually is great for that. Like we read Dan, and it just feels more mature, while simultaneously more toilet humor too, which is kind of great. But that character doesn't exist, but it is a male-female duo, and they're both equals. You know what I mean? And it just has a different kind of storytelling style. It's maybe why I vibe with that one so much as opposed to some of the others. Right?
Before we move on from Kikoru, I just want to point out her dad. What we do see of her dad has the craziest facial hair I've ever seen in my life. and
It's
eyebrows.
lightning.
It's like they just start to doodle and just like, why not? How about this too? Why not? If we're gonna go that far, let's keep going.
He looks like
Wait,
Endeavor.
so scars? Oh
I
no,
think
that's
It's like
That's
coming
hair?
out
It's
of
like
his
sculpted.
hair.
Yeah.
It's hair,
Wow.
and his eyes have
Amazing.
like spirals in them. Like it's such a ludicrous design.
I didn't even notice. Oh yeah, I do see that now. So I have something to build on Christopher's point about Kikoru kind of being an improvement in Shonen Jump girls, kind of her
Yeah.
position. The end of Volume 1 is like a classic Shonen Jump cliffhanger. Like, did we read One Piece?
No.
I honestly can't
No.
remember.
No.
I really want us to read One Piece, but I'm trying to figure out the best way to approach it.
Yeah, because there's a lot. I'm going to spoil part of Volume 9 right now for the listeners. But there's a point where one character has been the antagonistic girl character that Christopher is talking about, Nami. And she finally breaks down and asks the main character, Luffy, for help. And it's honestly like, I described it as a moment when the series went from good to great. Because it's such good storytelling. Like, everyone's crying, the reader's crying, and then there's an amazing action scene immediately after. And in One Punch Man, which we also have not read, or no, did we read One Punch Man?
No, we didn't.
Nope.
Jeez, we have got to get on the ball, guys.
Yeah. Come on, we're like over 100 episodes in.
I want to do these, but I have to counter program you
Keep
guys.
picking Guardians of the Loop.
Because it's like I want to pick these titles, but then you guys make it so like I have to think to myself, we haven't done a shoujo title in a while, and we haven't done a josei title. I gotta fix that.
We'll do better this season. We'll do better. But there's a moment. There's one of my favorite fights in this series is with the Sea King character, where this giant, basically a giant merman, comes to land and is beating up all the superheroes. And this guy named Moomin Rider, who's basically a bike messenger with like a helmet based on Kamen Rider, stands up to him.
Right.
So good.
And he gets knocked down. It's like Steve Rogers versus Thanos from Infinity Gauntlet. It's that, which it's awesome. And then he finally gets knocked down again, and One Punch Man catches him on the last page, and it says like, good job protecting people, good fight. I'll take over from here. And then, the series punchline continues. And it totally happens in this book. Like he does the leave the rest to me moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's classic Shonen Jump. Like everyone loves the I'm here to rescue the person who's just shown they have a heart of gold moment. And that's like the competency that I'm talking about, like knowing that this moment is good and finding kind of a new twist on it, or even not a new twist, like a good execution of the moment.
Yeah. I've been guilty of that moment in my superhero comics.
It always works. Like
It works.
It's like getting the gang back together. It's like, okay, like I want to get my gang back together. Let's see where they go with this.
Yeah.
I have to admit though that I picked this too because I thought this is kind of up there with your One Punch Man as the kind of manga that would appeal to people who normally read superhero comics.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm a little disappointed at Chip's lukewarmness to it. But
It's not lukewarm. I like it.
This is Nausicaa all over again, where we all like
this. This is actually how Chip
feels
feels about superhero comics, though.
There's 3 exclamation marks behind competent.
Fair. But it's
like,
also like, I mean, you're saying like, yeah, I'll give it 3 exclamation marks.
I mean,
the
3 exclamation marks out of 5 is pretty good. That's my rating system. I genuinely do like it. I genuinely like it. It's not for me, but I like it. Like,
yeah.
I think that's all it comes down to. Like, I would give this to like a 15, 16-year-old, and I know it would become one of their favorite comics. Like, it's that kind of book. It's very, very well done.
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't necessarily work for me at the phase I'm at right now in my media consumption, I think.
I mean, things might change too, like like how with Attack on Titan it just blew up because the anime brought it to life in a way that made it more exciting than the manga alone.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it could be that when anime comes out, it might enhance people's appreciation of it.
I would like to see how it always kind of explodes the fan base when a manga gets an anime.
Yeah,
which brings in all kinds of new voices. Yeah, for good or for ill was exactly where I was going to go with that. So I would like to see like kind of how people take it, because like kaiju are so cool now in a way that like I feel like they've always been cool, but they haven't been this cool. We just got like 3 good Godzilla movies in like 6 months, or sorry, 1 Godzilla TV show, Godzilla movie, and then a Godzilla King Kong movie. Like we're living in wild times. So I think that even in America, like we're perfectly primed for something like this to be a hit. And I think that the way this approaches the things that make Shonen Jump series hits in the past, like really click.
I gotta ask you then. So, David, why do you think
Yeah.
now is the kaiju moment?
I think that we've just been sharing cultures like super deeply thanks to social media and kind of increasing like foreign, what is it called? I mean, you can get Japanese movies very easy on Netflix, for instance. Like accessibility is easier than ever. Criterion put out a amazing Godzilla box set with art by, mostly Western artists doing new interpretations of the classic movies. Like Pacific Rim was a big deal for a little while. Like it's kind of just building on a groundwork that I think has been laid over time. The same way anything else comes into and out of vogue, like John Wick style shooter movies, where it's like very precise and like stiff. Like those benefited from the Korean and Hong Kong action movies before them. So it's kind of same kind of thing, I would say.
But there might also just be a thing in the zeitgeist of people love movies with destruction and war and violence and things like that.
Yeah.
But I think we're in a phase right now where we don't necessarily want kind of as much people versus people
Yeah.
kind of thing, right? Like the idea of like a giant thing that everyone has to kind of band together, and maybe another giant thing comes and saves us. Like there's a God element to that, like, right?
Yeah.
When you look at like Godzilla, kaiju stuff, like there's an element of these are gods that are having these battles above us, and it's out of our control, but we can shift things here and there, and maybe this god will listen to us and take on the bad gods. Like, yeah, there's a weird higher level stuff I think that kind of accompanies stuff like Godzilla.
I have a slightly different reading, and it's Godzilla specifically is man's hubris come back to literally topple all its buildings down. Like Godzilla was awoken by the nuclear bomb, right? So it's mankind, and we've created this thing, and it's not like a Thanos Infinity event. It's not something that's going to happen, and it's totally out of our control. And whatever we do, it's something that's like literally at our door, knocking down our neighbor's house, and what are we going to do about it? And it's kind of our fault also. And I think that maybe not directly, but I think it definitely resonates with the pandemic experience. I think it definitely recognizes like these huge things are happening, and it's all us. Both the cause and the solution has to come from us. And I think that there's stuff that's really there. It really made Shin Godzilla good. If you really think about Shin Godzilla and how that was solved by bureaucracy and people working together in a real way, as opposed to we've created a weapon that is as big as Godzilla to shoot it with, which was kind of the previous kaiju sort of a
don't
situation.
Knock what works, all right? But I think I agree with you, even though I think Godzilla is that sometimes. Like other times, it's sort of the natural order that we have stepped out of, coming back to remind us of where we belong. Yeah. Like one thing I really like about Godzilla Cross Kong is Godzilla X Kong, whatever, and Monarch is that it's sort of like these beasts have always been here. This is actually their world, and we're just living on it. Like we had the pecking order upside down, and sort of coming to grips with that as maybe like a post-colonial America might be kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Or
there you go.
Post-Empire America, I guess I should say. Yeah, there's all these angles that make it fascinating. And it also, like, giant monsters, really cool. So
yeah, it helps.
It's like giant robots, like Gundam is a great war allegory, but also the robots look really awesome. They're in space shooting lasers and whatnot.
Yeah, movies are always reflective of their time. I remember my wife talking about like taking like a film studies course, and they spent like 3 weeks studying Die Hard.
Oh,
what? Yeah. Wow.
Like just because like Die Hard like just kind of perfectly sums up like 1980s Reagan America, like masculinity, femininity, like everything is kind of summed up in that movie, and they could just analyze it from every angle. Yeah, that's just a natural thing that happens.
And I think Kaiju number 8 does something similar, where it does capture kind of that moment. Deb, you were talking about this earlier, how he's kind of just past his prime and getting back on the job. And there's an obvious like parallel with like entrance exams for high school, but like for adults trying to re-enter our workforce or continuing students or something like that. Like it's very much like a real thing. Like, am I too old to make my life better or to make my life good? It's a real fear. I think 32 is kind of a ludicrous age to have that feeling, but I get it.
Yeah.
But if you're 15, 32 feels like over the hill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, absolutely.
And also at 32, I had that feeling. Like,
Really?
Sure, yeah, crossing into your 30s. Yeah, it was a big deal. It wasn't just like, all right, the future is mine. It was just like, oh god, like what have I done? Like I've gone to art school. Like what am I doing with my life?
Yeah, I think I was
That's true.
changing jobs and industries between 29 and 30. Yeah.
It's a big time. I mean, like there's a Akane Torikai manga, Saturn Return, and it's a reference to an astrology term.
Mhm.
Like at roughly around age 27 or so, 27, 28, Saturn comes back to the place it was when you were born. And this Saturn is a taskmaster, so to speak. It gives you challenges. So the way that Saturn return is talked about in astrology terms is this is a moment of reckoning for you.
Mhm.
It's a moment where you have to decide. And usually it does it by giving you a real crisis, like your parent dies or you get laid off or something you really cannot ignore. And it forces you to make a big change.
Mhm.
So if you think about it, this happens like 27, and then that's like 52. It happens a couple times in your life.
Yeah.
And if you think back on it, it's like if you can call, of course, astrology is all kinds of hooey, right?
Mhm.
But I think it's interesting because it is at those times of your life that you kind of do these, or the way that our society is set up. It's where you figure out it's a checkpoint. Am I going in the right direction? Do I have time to course correct if I'm not?
Mhm.
I had that at 27, actually.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, it's weird. I think that's just a point where people get to sorry, I leveled up at 27, put it that way. Put it in scaffolding.
And then famously, right? That's when Jimi Hendrix died and Kurt Cobain died, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Age
27
27.
Club.
Yeah, Joplin.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, 27 is like you are an adult at that point. Like you can kind of get away with your early 20s not acting like an adult, but by
Mhm.
27 it's like, yeah, things change.
Yeah, you're trailing too much of life behind you to keep doing the same.
Yeah, because it's a threshold towards 30 too. Like 25, 26, you're still in your 20s. At 27, it's like, oh man, you're almost 30.
And by 32, you feel like you're overdue for a change. If you've been thinking about it since then and you haven't made a serious move towards that change,
Mhm.
it'll start to really bug you.
Yeah.
I mean, not that this topic is very deep, right? So I made it sound deeper than it really is.
I liked when he blew up the kaiju.
No, all
I
this is
also
in the
like
book.
that.
This was all on page 183. Come on.
Yeah.
Come on.
But no, Christopher, I interrupted. What were you going to say?
Yeah.
But no, I think that there's a lot of discourse online, especially amongst young people. Well, sorry, it's like in manga fans. Actually, I can bring it right to manga, so it still counts for the podcast. Mangasplainers. It's like, why are you still in this manga chat room? Everyone's young here, and it's like I have been reading manga for 20 years. I have been in this chat room for 10 of them. Like, yeah, I'm 30 now, but that doesn't make me a creeper automatically. The chat is still the chat, you know? And I think that there's a lot of spaces on the internet where mature manga fans, let's say, are being made to feel unwelcome, even though it was them that kind of built those spaces. And I think that that's like definitely a conversation that's happening in and around manga and anime fandom that is maybe already happened in other places or is about to happen in other places. I can't tell if we're the canary in the coal mine or not. You see it on Twitter, especially. It's like young people being like, why are you still reading manga? It's just like, wow, that's not the question I ever thought I'd get from a younger person who also reads manga. I kind of always got it from my parents who were like, why are you reading manga?
It's funny because there's no young people telling that to the older superhero readers because there's no young readers of superhero comics. So the old superhero readers could just have their Spider-Man message boards and get angry and yell, and no one's there to say, "Hey, aren't you too old for this?"
Yeah, go post about it on Usenet, Granddad.
Yeah.
I do want to point out that Kaiju number 8 is not serialized in the weekly Shonen Jump magazine in Japan, the print version, which is the one.
Oh, really? Is it one of the digital series?
It is one of the digital series. It's on Jump Plus, I believe.
It's weird how many hits are coming out of Jump Plus.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, I wonder what the differences are between the two.
Well, Jump Plus is kind of like Chainsaw Man. It's Spy Family.
Mm-hmm.
I would say one, it's the editor. I've met the editors for Jump Plus, and they're really thoughtful, interesting guys.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
So, question.
Mm.
Sorry, does Jump Plus, like, is Jump Plus just there for the ones that don't get into Jump proper? Or does Jump Plus make a play for people?
It's more like Marvel Infinity on Marvel Unlimited, where they have like specific to the platform strips and then also their
Okay.
published strips. The
Okay.
published strips are weekly Shonen Jump, and the unlimited strips are Jump Plus.
And yet the format's the same here, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the implication was among Western readers, it's like it's just the stuff that's not good enough to get into Shonen Jump, but it's like
Yeah.
not the case. It's
Not the
really
case at all.
it's Shonen Jump has a pretty rigid idea of what a Shonen Jump title is, I guess, or what, like in terms of age rating or gore or sexuality or any of those things, or just like the themes, the intensity of the stories for Shonen Jump. And if it's a Jump book, like if it's someone who was born and raised inside a Shonen Jump and wants to do a book with it's still a little too edgy or a little bit too something, then Jump Plus exists now. And I think that it is not an also ran, but I am surprised that there's not a print magazine for it. But it's so successful digitally, giving away those chapters free every week on Jump Plus, and then going to Tankobon afterwards. Like, there maybe doesn't need to be.
I could see this being pitched to Jump, and then a Jump editor being, okay, but let's make the main character 15.
Yeah,
and then
absolutely.
them going, and then Jump Plus comes in and goes, actually, keep it as is and do it over here. Like,
Yeah.
I often wonder if there's like a bidding war between Jump Plus and Jump for a project, or if it's just,
There
or if one's
almost
just
has
a
to
natural
be.
fit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of interesting, right? Because like Jump Plus allows for more violence than the print version does.
Mm-hmm.
It's also worth noting that I think it's past 60%, maybe closer to 70 now. That's what percentage the manga market is in Japan is digital.
Oh, they actually
That's
just released
wild.
those figures last week. 70% of all comic sales, manga sales in Japan are digital.
And it's like
Wow.
10 to 15 in the US on a really good day.
Yeah, and it's held that number for a long time, hasn't it?
The estimate that Milton at ICV2 put out is 7% for digital in the US versus 70%.
Yeah.
It's fine.
I just actually this was one of those seminars I was talking about. I just gave a whole seminar on this, and it was basically North America has the walled garden approach. Everybody's got their own proprietary sales thing, except everyone has to sell to Amazon, right? Like you can't not have a digital book on Amazon. So everyone's on like the Viz Media is on the Viz app, Kodansha is on the Kodansha app, or K-Manga, or Square Enix is on the Square Enix app, but they've all got books on Amazon, and every single one of them, if you ask, Amazon is their biggest client by a huge margin. And in Japan, there's just online bookstores. There's just so many online bookstores. There's DMM, there's Bookwalker, like Shogakukan and Shueisha have their own ones, but that also have Kodansha titles on them and vice versa. And I think
what are the
it's just-
percentage of like? I mean, it's all phone, right, in Japan, or is it tablet as well?
I would say it's mostly
But
phone,
mostly phone.
but tablet and Pascom and PC. Yeah.
Yeah, and like what percentage of the tablets would be Apple, like iPad? Because that's the other hindrance over in North America is the fact that I can't buy something on my iPad because to do that it gives 50% of that money over to Apple. So Amazon, Kindle, or whatever is like, or any of the other apps are pushing me over to the website where I have to go to the website and I have to buy it there and then go back to my iPad.
There's
like
a friction.
the barriers. Yeah, it's wild.
I've got Bookwalker installed on my iPad, and it's the same thing. I don't think you can buy books on Bookwalker on iPad. I think that you have to buy it and then sync it. Just
it
like
actually opens
Comixology
the web store in Safari when you click the store in Bookwalker on my iPad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I find their iPad app to be just awful too, by the way. It's like
it
so
is the
terrible.
worst. I don't understand why they sort books the way they we've been sorting books for thousands of years.
And yet, Bookwalker, get it together.
But no, like Christopher's absolutely right. I was actually looking at Bookwalker this morning. There was an urban sketching book, like how to draw, people and buildings, things that I was checking out, and they made it so easy to both find and like flip through, read before you buy. Like it's a completely different world.
Anytime you guys talk about the Japanese ones and you're like, I wonder what that's like in the Japanese version, if that was an interest, I have to go buy the book in Japanese to do the show notes for. So I've actually been using Bookwalker a lot and then doing screen grabs and putting the show notes and stuff. And it's kind of awesome how easy it is. The books are all reasonably priced. I have a weird library of random Japanese Mangasplaining books now. Like, actually, and I usually buy Japanese versions of the books we're doing for Mangasplaining Extra too, because when I'm on the road, I might not have like a copy of volume 2 of Search and Destroy, but I can just go buy it, and it's like $4 or $5, and I get to kick Kaneko Sensei like $1. It feels pretty good, right? Like,
so to circle back to Kaiju number 8,
go all the way back. Sorry about that. That's a digression.
No. But I think this brings up an interesting point, right? Because in US, Jump is one brand, and all the stuff from the various Jump brands are on the app. But what that doesn't quite make clear to everybody is Jump is several brands, right? There's a Giga Jump, which is just game stuff. There's Saikyo Jump, which is for kids. And then, of course, the flagship magazine, which is Weekly Shonen Jump. But, think of it this way, right? If even in Shonen Jump, which is still as thick as a phone book, and old-time phone books, not new phone books, it's basically only has so many slots, right? Maybe 8 to 12 slots, and of which one is taken up by One Piece. Right? At least, I'd say half of the slots in Weekly Shonen Jump are taken up by series that have been running for more than 2 years. So that leaves very little space for new people to come in and shoot their shot, right?
Yeah.
Jump Plus, on the other hand, allows a lot of people to get their shot.
Yeah.
And to publish stories that are outside of what the expectations are of the print magazine, of that particular print magazine.
I wonder if that makes Jump Plus more like Marvel Comics Presents, where it was like a bunch of serials. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not a rejects. It's definitely not a place for rejects or also rants. There's a lot of really good series on Jump Plus.
Yeah.
That we've read even.
Yeah. That reject perspective, it's so funny that kind of like sunk in, because what company do you know would put together like, here's all the crappy ones, let's put these out and see what happens,
Yeah.
Like, we've got our slush pile here, we're just going to usher it out into the market. No, there's always some kind of twist or like weirdness, grotesquerie. I think this one, maybe the grotesque aspect of the monsters was part of it, and probably the violence too as it goes on. But no,
I think you guys nailed it though. It's because the lead character is 30, and like that is not. That's Finding Shonen Jump title where the lead character is anything over the age of 15, even like it's pretty clearly like they've got a formula and you got to stick to it.
Yeah, they're either like extremely cocky or extremely annoying, and this character is kind of neither.
Yeah,
like maybe a little bit of elements of both. Yeah.
He's kind of humble too, right? In some ways, like he's kind of a dork.
That's what made me think of Space Brothers, actually.
Yeah.
That makes him kind of lovable because in a sense that he's, like as David mentioned, he is instantly super powered. Like to the point where like when he's escaping out of the hospital, he's basically breaking the windows, just trying to push it aside.
Yeah.
Like that kind of like out from the gate, I'm so super powered, I don't know what to do with myself kind of thing.
Yeah.
Interesting. And I think a character coming from a humble job, without that kind of I guess he's a good guy, right? I mean, he's a little bit self-effacing. He's goofy. He goes like, "What the f- going on?" Like,
Yeah.
He's not like, "Moo ha ha ha, I'm super powerful," right? He's like, "Holy shit, what's going on here?" And I thought he was lovable.
Yeah.
We're all worthy of love.
Well, I think we gave this a good go around. Let's go around and do some final thoughts, eh? How about let's start with David, where we started.
Cool. So I'm going to say I like this one openly and publicly so that no one can argue with me about it later.
What a responsibility you have, David.
I do want to share my two favorite bits. Page 63, there's a panel of the old man falling down after he turns into the monster for the first time. It's one of my favorite. I love flip takes, like when someone falls down in the panel, like their legs pop up. And the old man falling down passed out is a pretty good take on that. But on page 32, I think it was 32, 33, there's this spread where he rescues Reno from the monster that's going to like bite him and do the whole like, oh no, part of my body's been chomped out panel. But they turn away from that by having first he tackles the guy to safety and then he kicks him to safety when the monster bites again. The second bite that was where I was like, okay, this series is going places. Like they have like funny and kind of cool action comedic timing. Because most series would leave it like, oh, he's pushed him out of the way. Now they'll argue, then they'll run away. But like, there's like that extra like little bit to make it interesting that I really appreciated. So yeah, Kaiju number 8, top stars, extremely competent, 3 exclamation points.
Yeah.
I think David brought up a good point, but maybe I can ask Chip about this too. Because David, when his sum up, brought up a favorite scene. Chip, did you have a favorite scene or one that you'd like to mention?
I think my favorite scene actually comes in the next volume.
What a Chris move.
I know. It's a real Chris move. I think so. It's hard for me to remember, but it was like the reveal of who gets into the program.
Yeah.
And it's like a double fake out, triple fake out kind of thing. Because, he opens it and just like, you don't know, and then you cut to the ceremony and you're like, okay, he didn't get in, but it probably did get in. But then they show he didn't get in. But then he shows up and it's like, oh, he did get in. Oh, actually, but no, you're like a junior cadet. You didn't quite get in, but you're in. Like it was like this weird back and forth that I found quite funny. And also like, and I legitimately didn't know if he was going to get in.
It's nice to be surprised. It's way
it's nice
underrated.
to be surprised. Yeah.
There's some really good gags in this book. And I think we didn't maybe talk about that. There's like, it's legitimately funny a lot of the way through. We were kind of focused on the art and the like larger ideas this time out. And I think that like, on the writing, I believe it is definitely more than competent 3 exclamation points. I think there's some fun stuff. Like I'm looking right now and page 105 is a full page splash page close up of the like monster face version of what's his name eating a piece of rolled sushi going seriously, and it's just like that is funny. Like that is like and it's not even well drawn. Like it's not like it's like a splash page with tons of tiny detail and stuff. He's just like it's a joke reaction that he blew up to a full page. That's really fun. And I think there's a lot of really good funny bits in this that I think people will dig more so
the monster on the page before that too, with the notes of what to keep and what to throw away.
Yeah. So yeah. Good stuff. Good stuff, Kaiju No 8. That was my final thought as well.
We didn't get a little brother's moment this week either.
Oh, and Chip read the book version, so he didn't read the color. Hold on real quick. I'll see if I can find the color.
I've got color.
There's a bunch of extra ones from later that might be even better, but
I would say like in like chapter 1, there's that one on page 32 or something like that. There's that moment where Kafka first turns into the monster and then vaporizes the monster with a punch.
Yeah.
Then the scene changed to color, and he's standing in a blood of rain. Blood raining down on him. And he's kind of saying, this is definitely not the kind of power I should use on a human.
Yeah.
Yeah. Blood rain, always funny. Like that, another gag that always works.
It was funny in Carrie. It was funny here.
But there was that point where he's like turned into a monster, and then he says, look, I'm eating a live bird. And everyone's like, you're gross.
I've got a little brother's moment for you. It's
okay.
Again, very minor. Page 119 or 118, after Kikoru has flipped over the car and she's introducing herself. I love the fact that like she shrugged off the top of her dress and it's still kind of half on. Like, that's such a good like characterization detail on the drawing.
Yeah.
And the way like it kind of pulls your focus. Yeah. It's good stuff.
Like someone shrugging off their gi or something like that. Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, absolutely. And a couple pages before that, they sort of use the sexy undressing language to set up this scene. Like it reveals her shoulder and there's like, a heartbeat sound. And it's like, oh, she's wearing body armor. Okay. Well, it's a muscle girl thing.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, good stuff all around. How about you, Deb? What's your final thought? What's your favorite bit?
I guess it's kind of interesting for me to hear you guys say like, wow, it's competent, right? And full disclosure, I am in the middle of teaching a class on manga at California College of Art. And I can tell you, competent is hard.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it is.
yeah. It's no knock. There's no knock against competency.
Getting to competent is hard. And yes, there's two sides to this, right? One is there's a formula going on here. And it is a very masterful mashup of all kinds of elements that are familiar to us. Type of archetypes of the characters, the pacing, the enemy, the premise. There are a lot of things that you go, this gives me this echo of that. Like you could take this as, well, it's following a formula. But at the same time, I think the one reason why I picked this, I thought it did something, while not wholly fresh and different, like Pampania, right? Like completely blowing up
sure.
all expectations. I thought it did something really fresh and different within this parameter. That it was entertaining, it was well drawn, it was fun to read. Like it wasn't all serious and dark.
Yeah.
The humor brought us along on the ride. The monsters were great. It was exciting. The good page turns and the excitement. I just kind of wonder, like, maybe it's like that fancy mac and cheese place we have here in Oakland called Homeroom. Or it's like...
David took me there. Yeah. They're great.
It's comfort food, but it's elevated.
Yeah.
It's very much a thing where they do like something very straightforward very well. And I think that this is also doing a very straightforward thing very well. Like something like, I'm trying to think of like a superhero movie. Spider-Man 2, I would say, is competent in a similar way, like the Tobey Maguire one from back in the day. Like it hits a lot of the secret identity stuff, the kind of like being broke in New York and like trying to have your own apartment stuff. I think this is actually probably more competent in that sense, but it's
more competent than Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 2. Are you insane?
Yeah, I like that one.
Oh, you walked right into that.
Dr. Octopus for my taste. But like it's important to have good stories that are like straightforward, like exemplars of the genre, let's say.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah.
It's not going to transform the genre, but I think it's different and fun enough to be better than just another Shonen Jump series.
Yeah, it'll keep you reading for sure. And that's, the best thing about these kind of books is that it'll show you something new every few pages.
I just want to make sure I got my final thought in.
Oh, yeah.
Which was, after much consideration, I believe this is competent. 4 exclamation marks.
Whoa.
Wow. 4 out of 5.
So I like it better than David. I like it better than David, basically. I want the record to show that the person who liked this the least is David with 3 exclamation marks.
Wow.
It's going to be your...
Chip Zdarsky.
The originator of the competent exclamation mark rating system, David Brothers.
Hold the presses, Biz. That's your next poll quote.
Awesome.
Well, that was a fun little romp through the world of Kaiju-ness and Kaiju number 8. Thanks for humoring me on this. We'll take a little break and we'll figure out what we're going to talk about next. And we are back, and we did chat up a bunch about Kaiju number 8, so I think we just have time for shout-outs. Who would like to go first this time?
I can go first, break the ice. So I mentioned seeing Godzilla and Kong last weekend, and reading Kaiju number 8 this weekend reminded me that there's a short story collection I like a lot called MM number 9 by Hiroshi Yamamoto, translated by Nathan Collins, who I worked with a lot in my day job, actually. It's a kaiju novel. It's kind of about the people who go around fighting kaiju in a like science patrol kind of sense, if you like, like Ultraman or Godzilla, that kind of thing. It's really good. There are just a bunch of like kind of interconnected stories about the same company, same group. And I think if you like Kaiju number 8, it'll definitely appeal. It has a lot of charm. There's a little girl who's a kaiju. That's like kind of a important part of the book. There's all these little twists on established kaiju mythology and like archetypes that it plays with. So MM9. MM stands for Monster Magnitude number 9. And the author actually passed away this month, Hiroshi Yamamoto. So it's timely too. So go check it out. It's published by Haikusoru, who is technically a Viz imprint. So it's a huge conflict of interest for me. So even more enjoyment that way.
You like what you like.
Yeah.
You like what you like.
Yeah.
I could go for next if you like. So you sent me on we had a weird bit of confluence in my life a couple weeks ago. We did Guardians of the Louvre, that episode. And then I went to see what the other Louvre books were. And there was one that hasn't been translated by a guy named Florent Chabouet. And he's the guy that did the book Tokyo on Foot. And he's like a drawer, an illustrator who just went to Tokyo for, I think, 6 months and was like drawing everything he saw all day because his girlfriend had traveled there for work. And he's like, I'll just bum around as an illustrator who doesn't have much going on and draw like fun old buildings and people and my experiences there. And that book took off. It did phenomenally well. It's translated into like a dozen series. And he had done a Louvre book. And I was like, oh, that guy. Yeah, he's great. And then I was on Facebook like a day later, and it turns out he's in Taiwan. He was he had been flown over to do some sort of special event between the French office, the French creator, and the Taiwan office. So he was like touring Taiwan. And I'm like, I just messaged him out of the blue and I was like, can I interview you for Mangasplaining? And he's like, yeah, sure. That sounds great. I'm down south right now. I'm in Tainan. So I just like hopped on a train and went down to Tainan and interviewed this dude his book, Tokyo on Foot, came out just after, I think, in between my first and second trips to Tokyo ever in like 2000, 2008, 2009, and was like hugely influential on like really going into like smaller neighborhoods and trying to like see things outside of like the guidebooks and more how people actually live in Tokyo. And it really affected me. So it was great to actually get to meet him and interview him and talk to him about that stuff. Yeah, I want to recommend Tokyo on Foot, which is fantastic. I want to recommend his follow-up, which was not marketed, unfortunately, by Tuttle nearly as well, called Manabeshima Island, Japan. And it's about him doing the same thing as going to Tokyo and drawing, except he goes to a very small island where there's less than 100 people that live on this island. And he's like, I'm going to live here. And everyone on the island is like, why? This is a stupid idea. And he's like, I want to be off the grid for a while and whatever. And he just chronicles and draws every single person that lives on this island and what his life is like for, I think, 3 months. Really good.
Sounds
really,
awesome.
really good.
That's neat.
Yeah. And then his Louvre book is really good too, because he goes to the Louvre and starts drawing the people that are in the Louvre and sort of like how they interact with the art in the background. And so it's less of a imagined story, like maybe the book that we read by Taniguchi Sensei, and more of and then it gets kind of fantastical as it goes, where more and more of the people who show up are kind of more and more fantastic, but it starts in a very serious way. It's called L'Île de Louvre. It's great. So yeah, Florent Chabouet. Whoops, my eyes are going.
Way to David that one up.
Yeah. New take. Florent Chabouet. I'll recommend his books in the show notes. Go check them out. He's fantastic.
When you started that shout out, I thought you were going to say that you somehow found yourself drawn into the background of one of his pieces.
I've been in enough comics. I'm good. No more from me.
I guess I'm going to pick one that kind of fits or is built upon the themes that we talked about today. I like Versus, the new K-manga series that's being simulpubbed on K-manga. It's going to come out in print in the fall from Kodansha. It's written by One, the creator of Mob Psycho 100.
Oh, wow.
One Punch Man.
And One Punch Man, yeah.
But it's drawn by another artist whose art style looks a lot like Yusuke Murata, but is not. It's by Kyotaro Azuma. But what I love about this series is it starts out as a story about demons versus humans. And then as it unfolds, it tells you it's kind of a worlds collide story where it's a world where it's this dystopian future where humans are fighting against evil robots. And then there's one where it's magic versus magicians versus aliens from outer space kind of thing, right? So what's interesting is that all these worlds smashed together and all the heroes, all the wizards, all the modern human army, the humans from the dystopian future, all the elves and stuff like that, all get together and realize, hey, we're all fighting against these superpowered enemies who are stronger than us and are kicking our ass on the daily. What say you we change enemies?
Everyone steps to the side one.
Yeah, so people say the super futuristic humans who are being defeated by the evil AI go forth and they kill the dragons. It's a really clever, it's hard for me to explain because the way that unfolds is so damn clever. It takes all these genre type stories, X versus Y, and makes them X versus Y versus Z versus ABC, Delta, Epsilon, whatever, in a super fun way.
There's Acts of Vengeance. It's Marvel's Acts of Vengeance.
I was going to say, Chip, you are thinking of Acts of Vengeance, right?
Like, clearly, I'm thinking of that. Yeah. All the villains get together and realize, like, why do we keep losing these heroes? Let's just switch off heroes and villains.
Another bit that always works.
Oh, yeah, another bit that always works.
Yeah.
It's pretty genius. And
Has one of the single best Marvel Comics short stories, which is Magneto versus the Red Skull, where he's like, "Hey, I was a concentration camp Jew. I'm coming for you," and then just like comes for the Red Skull. It's like, I know I'm supposed to fight the other heroes, but actually, I'm going to take down the Red Skull, and it is so chef's kiss good.
And it's got another great story too, which is Daredevil versus Ultron.
Oh, yeah.
Where he beats him to death with a stick. It's so good. Yeah.
That is the future of AI.
Yeah.
This versus webcomic sounds really good, actually, Deb.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Because that guy's such a sharp writer, too. Like, everything I've read by him is actually, even, when it's not super well drawn, is so smart and good.
You're saying he's competent.
It's like 4.5 exclamation points.
Wow.
4 exclamation points in a period.
All right, I can dig it.
Anyway, I highly recommend it. I mean, this is, I know everyone gave K-manga a hard time when they came out, but I think this is one of the best examples of how K-manga, how they're making smart use of the platform, which is they're doing simulpub, and they're leading up to the print edition. And building up hype about it instead of just putting out the print edition and then hoping people will catch on then.
Sounds like Mangasplaining Extra.
Yeah, I'm surprised more. Oh, yes, what a genius idea. I'm surprised more people aren't talking about this series. I think it's genius. I'm legitimately spending those online coins on this thing.
Dollary dues.
It's only
Nice.
this one and Hajime no Ippo.
Nice.
There you go.
I'm gladly spending my online coins on this, even knowing that there's going to be a print edition.
When you said Versus, I really thought you were going to be like, I discovered Versus, the 2000 Japanese zombie movie. And I was like, oh, are we going to? Okay, I'll talk about that. That was a
Which
great movie.
actually just played in Portland last week. And they did
really?
a
Wow.
Zero this week. Yeah, it is like a real 2002 vibe in Portland right now.
Wow. That's retro for some generation, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
And that came out when
100%.
I was starting college, coming out of high school. So yeah, it's absolutely retro.
Yeah.
I have some
Yeah, me too.
students who were born then.
That's awesome.
They remind me that I'm their grandparents' age.
They were maybe conceived after a screening of Versus.
It's true.
You have no idea. There you go.
Chip, I don't think we have your shout out yet.
My shout out is the movie Problemista, which is by Julio Torres. I've mentioned before the show Los Spookies on here
Oh, yeah.
before, like a comedy show, which is half Spanish, half English. Julio Torres is like a comedian, and I guess he used to write for Saturday Night Live as well. This is a movie he wrote and directed and starred in about himself coming from El Salvador, his character wanting to be a toy maker for Hasbro. And all of his toys are very eccentric. Like one of them is a Barbie, but with her fingers crossed behind her back to create a little bit of intrigue. So it's all gags like that, and he doesn't get his dream job, but he still wants to strive for it. But his work piece is running out, so he needs someone to sponsor him. And Tilda Swinton plays, hard to believe, an eccentric woman in this.
A reach.
Yeah. Or she's very volatile, and she agrees to help him potentially if he assists her collect her cryogenically frozen husband's paintings for an art show. The husband is played by RZA, and
Oh my gosh.
all of his paintings are just of eggs in various scenarios. Anyways, there's so many fun little bits in this. It's not quite as good and as funny as Los Spookies, but it's super charming, and I highly recommend it. Yeah, very good.
That's
Very
delightful. I think this was a pretty well-rounded episode of Mangasplaining. So thanks for listening, and we'll see you sometime soon. Thanks.
Very soon. Very, very soon.
This has been Mangasplaining episode 119, Kaiju number 8, volume 1, and some of 2 by Naoya Matsumoto. Thanks for listening. For our next episode, we'll be discussing the manga Dogs Red by Satoru Noda. Want to pick up a copy? Consider supporting your local comic book and manga specialty shop. Find one near you at comicshoplocator.com, or check out your local library for print and digital lending options. You can also follow along with our complete reading list at mangasplaining.com, and check out our newsletter and digital publishing endeavor at mangasplainingextra.com. Thanks to DIDS for their musical accompaniment for this episode.